Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing my absolute favorite forbidden and taboo romance recommendations. Alright guys, so for this video I selected 10 of my absolute favorite forbidden or taboo romance books. Now I'm going to try to sort this by trope, so we're going to have some age gap, some student teacher, some captor captive, all the good things. Now if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about these forbidden and taboo books. Alright, so starting off with student teacher, first up we have Dark Notes, and this is by Godwin. This book is amazing. We are following Emmerich and Ivory, and Ivory is this young girl that is living in poverty. She has a terrible home life, and she's going to this very prestigious music academy on a scholarship, and she wants to eventually become a pianist. Now, at this music academy, there is a new teacher called Emmerich, and we find out that Emmerich was actually thrown out of his last school for having an inappropriate relationship. So right away, Emmerich kind of takes an interest in Ivory. It's more of like a hate relationship, but then he finds out a little bit more about her home life, and they begin a relationship, a romantic relationship. I devoured this book in a day. Emmerich is just so protective of Ivory once they form a relationship, and he just wants to take care of her and fight her battles, and I love this. Definitely check trigger warnings. Like I said, super dark, but this was absolutely amazing. It also has like a BDSM relationship, and it shows Ivory healing from her past, and it's glorious. So highly recommend. If you're okay with the student teacher trope, definitely check out Dark Notes. Alright, and then next up we have Guidance Counselor Student Relationship, and it's Sweet Dandelion by Micalea Smeltzer. So this is following Lachlan and Dandelion. Dandelion, in the very beginning of this book, something very traumatic happens to her, which forces her to live with her brother. So now she has to start at a new high school, and when she gets to the high school, she finds out that she actually has to see a guidance counselor every day to help deal with everything that happened in her past. So when she gets to guidance, she finds out that Lachlan is her guidance counselor, and he's this really young, charming guy, and they eventually form a relationship. Now, I was not sure how I was going to feel about this book. I work in guidance in the child study team, and I felt like a guidance counselor student romance is really just taking advantage of your authority, and I was like, not going to love this. I really enjoyed this book. I just loved Lachlan as a character. Also, this book is pretty chunky, but it's because Lachlan gives our main character time. And I'm not really going to elaborate on that, but it didn't feel as much of Lachlan taking advantage of his authority as I thought it was going to feel. This really felt like they both mutually respected each other, and I loved this. I'm also going to talk about another Micalea Smeltzer book on this list. She's like one of my new favorite authors, but definitely check this out. I really enjoyed it. Alright, and next up is a bit of a controversial series. People either really love it or really hate it. I personally love it. It is the Off Balance series by Lucia Franco. This is a coach-student relationship, and it is following Rhea, whose main dream and main goal in life is to go to the Olympics. And Kova is her coach. So at the beginning of this, she is rather young. I think she's 17. And she ends up being shipped off to another part of the country, so she's completely alone. And Kova is kind of like her guardian, but also her coach. So I was worried this was going to feel a little bit like him taking advantage. I really didn't think it did. I think that Rhea is such a strong character. And even though she does make some very dumb decisions, I just feel like she really holds her own. I mean, sometimes she feels more mature than Kova. But I love this series. I'm halfway done Twist, or I'm halfway into Twist. I should have it finished by the time this video goes out. I was waiting for the audio to drop, and it's just taking forever, and I need to know what happens. But this series has like a little bit of everything, and the cliffhangers it ends on every book is just painful. So I would definitely check this out. Definitely check trigger warnings before jumping into it, but I really am enjoying this series. Alright, so moving on to Guardian romances. So first up we have Dangerous Temptations by Giana Darling. I love this duet so much. So it is following Bianca, and she is this girl that really has to provide for her family. So she's taking care of her younger brother who has epilepsy, and she's also kind of taking care of her mom, who is just a little flighty and like likes to date around. We also find out that Bianca has Mafia ties, but we're not exactly sure like what they are. So then Bianca's mom ends up dying, so Bianca and her brother are taken to Tiernan, who is her mom's ex-boyfriend of like 2 weeks, and they live with him, so he becomes their guardian, and he is just this brooding, angry guy who lives in like a gothic tower, and we also find out that he also has ties to the Mafia. So they form a relationship. There is a very significant age gap, and he is her guardian. So definitely check trigger warnings. This might not be for everyone, but I ate it up. I loved it. I love that Bianca is just like this sweet, innocent girl, but she like makes Tiernan feel things because he hasn't felt things in like so long. And I really, really enjoyed this. So I highly recommend. I know this gets kind of mixed reviews because it is so different from her other works, but I would definitely give this a shot if you're thinking about it. It was just a really, really fun duet. All right, so I have this book in the Guardian category, but it kind of checks like all the taboo boxes, and that is Credence by Penelope Douglas. I am sure most of you know what this book is about, but it is following this girl who ends up, her parents suddenly die, and she has to move in with her step-uncle and his two sons that she doesn't know at all. So she moves in with them, and they end up getting snowed in together, and things happen. And it is a wild but amazing time. So definitely check trigger warnings. I love this book. I wish it didn't end the way it did, but I'm not going to give away like any spoilers. But this has a little bit of everything. But it is one of my absolute favorite Penelope Douglas books. Highly, highly recommend. All right, and this next one is kind of Guardian, but also kind of ex-boyfriend's dad, but not really. And that is Mafia Mistress by Mila Finelli. This is part of a duet. The second one is Mafia Darling. And then there's a third book that just came out, Mafia Madman, but that follows a different character from this duet. I love this. This is one of my favorite Mafia romances. It is following Francesca and Fausto. And Fausto is this Mafia guy, lives in Italy, super high up, and he is trying to find a wife for his son. So he goes to Francesca's dad, asks permission, and he pretty much kidnaps Francesca, takes her to Italy, and was like, "You're gonna marry my son." Well, that doesn't end up working out, and Francesca ends up becoming Fausto's mistress. And this is super steamy. Fausto is like very alpha, very need to be in control, but then Francesca is kind of like a wild child, and it is just so much fun. All right, this next one is Boyfriend's Dad trope, and it's so good. It is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas, and this is following Jordan. And she is dating this guy. They've been in a relationship for a while, but he really doesn't treat her very well. And it's her birthday, and she gets off work, and her boyfriend forgets to pick her up. So she goes to the movies by herself and ends up seeing this older gentleman. They kind of hit it off right away. They're flirting a little bit, but then when she leaves the movie theater, she finds out the guy that she was just flirting with is actually her boyfriend's dad, Pike. And not only that, but Pike just offered for them to come live with him. So super awkward situation. But I love Pike and Jordan. Their romance is it's just so good. So we get to see Pike, who just wants to take care of Jordan, but he doesn't think he's good enough for her. And then you have Jordan, who just wants love. She just wants her love to be reciprocated because her boyfriend at the time is just terrible. And I love their story so much, so highly recommend. I honestly think I've loved every single Penelope Douglas book I've read, but definitely if you want a boyfriend's dad trope, check this out. All right, so the rest of these books are just strictly age gap. So first up we have Hush Hush by Lucia Franco. So this is following a girl that's come down on her luck. She is struggling financially. She's trying to go to college. She's trying to take care of her grandmother who is very sick. And her roommate suggests signing up for this escort service, or this very high-end escort service, and she can make a lot of money that way. So she agrees, and one of the only rules at this escort service is you can't date clients. So this is very unfortunate because one of the clients she has a huge crush on. He's this older guy, silver fox, has this accent she can't get enough of, and they start to see each other a little bit outside of the client relationship. And then things get very dramatic and things go from there. So I would definitely check trigger warnings. There was a twist in this I did not see coming at all, and I very much enjoyed it. I will say there is a novella. I don't necessarily think you need to read after you read this. It is kind of like an extended epilogue, but it's still fun if you want to see like the characters have their HEA. But definitely check this out. I really, really enjoyed it. All right, and next up we have one of my favorite reads of the year, and that is The Confidence of Wildflowers by Micalea Smeltzer. I have talked about this duet at length in a lot of videos, so I'm going to keep this very brief. It is following Salem and Thayer. Salem is this girl that is living in this quiet town. She's about to graduate college. She's been dating the same guy for a very long time, and she just doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. And then you have Thayer, who is this single father, construction worker, who moves in next door, or actually he's an architect, I'm sorry. And he moves in next door, and they start up a relationship. She starts out babysitting his child, and then things kind of progress from there. I love Thayer and Salem together. They are one of my favorite age gap couples. Thayer builds this girl a gym in his basement so she won't run when it's dark or raining, and it's just, I love them as a couple. So I will say there is a very tragic thing that takes place at the end of this book, so definitely check trigger warnings. And I also mentioned that Salem is dating someone in the beginning of this, so there is cheating, and if you're sensitive to that, I would probably avoid this duet. But oh my goodness, it is so good. So highly recommend if you want a really good age gap, pick up The Confidence of Wildflowers. All right, and last up for age gap, we have Welcome to the Dark Side by Giana Darling. So this is the second book in the Fallen Men series, which follows a bunch of members of a motorcycle club. I actually have a spoiler-free series review I will leave in the cards and in the description, but this is following Zeus and Lulu. And in the beginning of this story, Zeus, I think, is like 20, and there is a shootout, and he ends up saving this young girl named Lulu, and she immediately is like smitten with him. She calls him her guardian monster, and Zeus actually ends up going to jail. And while he is in jail, Lulu ends up getting diagnosed with cancer, and she's just writing to Zeus saying like, thank you. Like, he's really the only one that shows that he cares about her. So they have this very strong connection. And then when Lulu turns 18, it becomes romantic, and I just love them together. This is one of my favorite books in the Fallen Men series. It is just so good. But yeah, definitely check trigger warnings. Once again, I feel like I'm going to say that with every single book. And there is a very significant age gap. However, nothing happens until Lulu is of age. And it starts out very much as a friendship, and then it turns romantic. So just know that going in. But I absolutely adored this book and highly, highly recommend. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching my favorite Forbidden and Taboo romance recommendations. Please let me know down in the comments below what is your absolute favorite forbidden romance. And I said this already, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday, and I will see you all next week. Bye!